What's up everyone, I'm J-Man, and since we've all had a little time to ourselves during these times, I thought I'd start a new section where I discuss films that I think are worth seeing. This is What's Worth a Watch. It's a segment where I discuss little-known films that many may not have heard of before that I think deserve more attention. I've always been more a fan of indie films rather than mainstream Hollywood movies, so I thought I'd start a whole section out of it and discuss films that I think deserve more attention. So today's first installment is the Amazon Prime original, The Vast of Night. Set in the twilight of the 1950s in Cayuga, New Mexico, a teenage switchboard operator and a charismatic radio DJ discover a strange frequency that they soon start investigating, and eventually realize that something may be watching in the sky above. The film was rejected by several film festivals including Sundance, South by Southwest, Tribeca, and many others. But eventually it was picked up by Slamdance and then eventually Toronto International and just a handful of others. And just this year, last month specifically, it premiered on Amazon Prime. It was directed by first-timer Andrew Patterson and stars Sierra McCormick as Faye Crocker and Jake Horowitz as Everett Sloan. The film is really an homage to all those classic paranoia TV shows like The Twilight Zone, The Outer Limits, etc. You can tell this not just by the conspiracy thriller nature of it, but also just by the opening shot, where we first see a TV set displaying a fictional TV show in the style of those classic programs. Director Andrew Patterson also penned the script himself under the pseudonym James Montague, with his researcher Craig W. Sanger, who learned everything they could about switchboards, tape recorders, microphones, all the way down to the language and phraseology of the 1950s, making it seem like it's genuinely straight out of that decade. What's unique about this film is that it actually breaks some rules that they teach you in film school, but it does so in a very interesting and intriguing kind of way. For example, it has these long takes of people just talking. And by long, I mean it literally has these takes that last about 9 or 10 minutes. In screenwriting or editing classes, they obviously teach you to avoid these kinds of things, but the way this movie does it is just so impactful. It starts out at a distance, and then as the scene goes on, it slowly moves in on the characters, almost like it's slowly pulling you into the mystery of what's happening. The cinematography can be a bit dark at times, so you may have to focus a little too hard at the screen, but it also maintains that very classic grainy look that almost makes it look authentically from the 50s era. It also has these long tracking shots that literally go for huge distances at a time, whether it's following two people talking or a shot that literally travels within 3 distances. One might look at that and assume that they're just trying to extend the runtime of the film with extra padding, but it's really meant to hijack your attention by keeping you glued to the pacing and the suspense of the moment. It also uses very minimal lighting, which is one reason why the film is so dark, but it's really meant to give it that natural feeling of being lost in the dark with these characters as they unravel what's happening. Now, one thing to say about this film is that it's not your typical alien invasion movie. It is sci-fi, but it's mostly a conspiracy thriller type of film, kind of in the vein of M. Night Shyamalan's Signs, whereas it mostly deals with just these few characters as they figure out what's happening and all builds to this conclusion where something happens that might seem clear at first, but is left open just ambiguously enough to warrant some discussion. So if you go into this film expecting to see aliens or any huge action sequence, you won't get that. The biggest thing about this film is really the suspense. Now there is one thing to warn about this film, although I have no problem with it myself, and that is the first 20 minutes or so is all fast-talking dialogue and long tracking shots, so for that reason it will require your patience until things start happening. Also, this film may not be for everyone, meaning that if you aren't a fan of those classic shows or you know nothing about them, then this film may not be for you. However, if you are a fan of those classic paranoia thrillers and you have an Amazon Prime account, log on, turn out the lights, and prepare to be sucked up into The Vast of Night.
If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button, leave a comment, and subscribe to my channel for more. Also, be sure to follow me on all my social media stuff and hit that notification bell for recent updates.